Letter 3. Healdsburg, March 15, 1961.
My dear Ellie, I am so glad that you and Dick are doing well. But don't let him have anything too much before the wedding, because those guys are always asking for something. As you asked, I will tell you everything that happened. To my surprise, Kate put her arm around my shoulders and sat me down on the sofa. And so I sat for a while, my eyes downcast and staring at the plate that stood in front of me on the table. When I looked more closely, I realized what it was. The plate had pictures of male organs, thick and thin, tense and calm. I was thrown into a heat. I didn't know where to look. And suddenly I heard Kate's soft laughter and caught her mocking look at me. Your magazines are more interesting, she said. But we'll look at them later. Now let's drink some wine. To meet you. We talked, drank, and ate oranges. Then we drank to the Bruderschaft. Then she kissed me. She was so pretty that I hugged her neck with delight, and our lips merged in a sweet kiss. But what a kiss it was! I had never felt such passionate kisses before, although my Nick was also a good kisser. When Kate's lips touched mine and her tongue met mine, my head felt dizzy and my breathing seemed to stop. It was incredible. Katie tore herself away from me with a groan, quietly sank to the floor, and rested her head on my lap. It was hard for us to breathe. We could not say a word. Finally, Kate slowly raised her head and said quietly, "What do you think, Rose, if I take off my dress? Do you mind?" "Do as you wish," I said. Katie got up, went to the mirror, unbuttoned her buttons, and began to slowly undress. I had already come to my senses and watched her with interest. Kate was left in only silk panties. Oh, how beautiful she was. Has no man ever touched her? Flashed through my mind. Why don't you undress? It's so hot here. Can I help you? And, without waiting for an answer, Kate skillfully unbuttoned all the buttons on my blouse and skirt. I was left in my underwear. Let's lie down on the bed and look at your magazines, Katie suggested. She put the magazines on the bed and lay down completely naked on the sheet. With her hands behind her head, she looked at me with a seductive look. I was overcome with shame, but I couldn't take my eyes off her. "Rose, I'm waiting for you." Kate moved to make room for me. Then I slowly approached the bed. She put her arm around my waist and pulled me to her. "Lie down," she whispered, and I politely lay down next to her. "Who sent you these magazines?" "My friend." "Where did she get them?" "Her boyfriend got them." "Do they live together?" "No," I shook my head. "Is he your friend?" I nodded my head in the affirmative. "And you and him? Did something happen to you?" I looked at her stupidly. "Well, were you with him like a man?" "No," I whispered softly. "No, we were just dancing. Naked. He was touching my shoulders." "Well, he didn't touch you below. Here?" Spreading her legs, Kate placed a hand between her thighs. I was ashamed to look at her, and I closed my eyes. Katie laughed out loud. "Fool, you still don't know anything. Why do you need journals? And what do you understand in them?" I was so offended by these mocking questions that, blushing with shame and looking away, I told her something about myself. Well, that I already know a lot, both what happens between a man and a woman and what I sometimes want. But, despite her questions, I didn't dare admit that I knew how to do it myself. Katie interrupted my story with passionate kisses, her lips digging into mine. My head was spinning, and I felt that in a moment the same thing that had happened in the bushes when I was looking at the magazines would happen to me. Embarrassed, I pushed Kate's head away. "You don't need to, later." I groaned and got up and sat on the bed. "You better show me what you promised," I reminded her. During a recent conversation, Katie had hinted that she had something interesting. Okay, she nodded. She wrapped her arms around me and held me close to her. "I can't help it. These strange feelings are driving me crazy." Ellie took a thick book from the closet, Sexual Research, Tips and Instructions. The book had many illustrations. It described the methods of this case. I read these lines, I admit, with some disgust, but then I seemed to understand that it was about the most normal and far from worst human communication. In addition, I liked that the author of the book gave very sound advice, probably intended for newlyweds and lovers. We flipped through these pages and read every word and looked at every picture. And this must have lasted for an hour. I guess that's enough for today, said Kate. Closing the book, she turned to me and squeezed my hand slightly. I've been wanting to pee for a long time, and I could barely hold back. Katie, where's your toilet? I asked, blushing. She got out of bed and pulled out a chamber pot from under the sink. Sit down quickly. I was ashamed, but I couldn't stand it anymore and, having lowered my panties, sat down. Katie did not look up, looking at me. Then she came up and put her hand on my shoulder. I had already peed, but for some reason I did not want to get up from the pot. Kate lifted me from the pot, laid me on the bed, and began to passionately kiss my neck, stomach. Oh, Ellie, I cannot convey these emotions to you. My hands are still shaking. My face is burning when I remember what Kate and I did afterwards. Next time I will try to write something out of the book. I would like to read it together with Nick. By the way, how's your relationship with Dick? Are you with him already? Or not yet? Is he brave enough? You get me. Your Rose.